the September 9th meeting of the Transportation Committee to order. Good afternoon and welcome. The Transportation Committee reviews items of interest regarding all modes of transportation in the city of Oshkosh, including motor, transit, bike, and pedestrian. We are an advisory committee, and our favorable recommendations today will go to before the Oshkosh Common Council as needed. The council can accept or reject any recommendation from this committee. If you don't agree with our decision, you can discuss the item with any council member. If the committee does not recommend an item, a common council member may sponsor a new ordinance regarding this item. All ordinance items require 2 readings before the common council. The first reading will take place on Tuesday, September 23rd at 6 p.m. and you will be allowed to comment on the item at that time, though the council will take no action. On Tuesday, October 14th at 6 p.m., the item will be on a second reading, at which time the council will take action. You will again be allowed to speak. For this afternoon's meeting, I will read each agenda item, at which time, if you would like to speak, please step to the podium and give your name and address. I do ask that you keep your comments pertinent to the agenda item. The item will then come back to the committee for discussion and action as necessary. The committee has 2 alternate members who are allowed to participate in discussion but not make motions or including roll call votes. Actually, I have 1 alternate member, and with the exception of initial roll call and minutes approval. The committee has adopted a public participation policy which provides 15 minutes for public comment, and these are items not on the agenda. These are items generally on transportation. Citizens again must provide their name and address and speak on matters related to transportation issues within their authority. Comment should be addressed to the committee members and not to staff members. Items on the agenda should be addressed at the time the item is read, not during this open period for public comment. Statements are limited to 3 minutes, and the citizens may only provide one comment one time unless permission is granted. With written comments sent to the city will be distributed to the committee members and become part of the public record. And with that, I ask you to do a roll call, please.
Armstrong?
Here.
Merrick? Here. Hartman?
Here.
Nichols?
Here.
Lynch?
Here.
Martin? Here.
Okay. Approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve of the minutes from our August meeting?
Evelyn so moves.
Okay. Have a second?
Second.
Jeff seconds. All right. Any discussion? Additions? All right. Call the roll, please.
Armstrong?
Aye.
Merrick? Aye. Hartman?
Aye.
Nichols?
Aye.
Lynch?
Aye.
Martin? Aye.
We have no old business. At this point, if you want to make a comment about something not on the agenda, now is the time you may do that. All right. With that, new business. The first item today. Yes. Okay. All right. First item today is presentation of traffic impact analysis, Carl Traeger School site, and request for a new signalized intersection. Mr. Collins?
Yep. Okay. So as part of the recently passed Oshkosh School District referendum, one of the things that the school district would like to address are traffic concerns with the ingress and egress into Carl Traeger School. Committee may remember, some of you have been on the committee for a while, but I know since I've been here, we've studied this a couple times. There's been a couple traffic impact analysis that the school district has done. Now they would, with the referendum, part of their plans were to do something to address that situation. So we do have folks here to present that study. So we got Nate Constantine from Bray Architects, I believe, is going to do the presentation, and then John is their traffic engineer from Toddy. So one of the recommendations that you'll see is signalizing the intersection of the west driveway, and those are covered in our municipal code. So generally, Nate's going to go over what they're looking to do, but then at the end of the presentation, what we're looking for from the committee is a recommendation on the signalized intersection, which would then be an ordinance that would go to council if recommended. So I'll turn it over to Nate.
Thank you, Jim. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for having us. As Jim Collins mentioned, this is all stemming out of the April referendum for Oshkosh Area School District. Many projects associated to that, and many of these projects will come to this committee. The first one today being the Carl Traeger site. Carl Traeger site has had traffic issues, perhaps since the late 90s when it was constructed, as it is a little bit of a challenge as a one-way in, one-way out kind of solution, and that's just due to the parcel that it is. With that being said, the timeliness of around the previous studies on the TIAs and now this new TIA is that the school district does look to add students to this site in their overall consolidation effort. So if you have read through the TIA, the district intends to add approximately 100 students to the site, and you can imagine the increased traffic flow associated to that. So, as mentioned, the Oshkosh Area School District hired a third-party traffic analysis TIA to be completed, and that's where Toddy, Traffic Analysis and Design, was brought in as a third-party consultant. Just as a overall, if you haven't seen this maybe since April, the overall plan at Carl Traeger is to do a 4-classroom addition to the north, some playground and improvements, but where we're coming in tonight is just the traffic flow situation itself. So overall site improvements, this is the current plan that we have been reviewing with the city. So we are proposing that we revise this site from a single lane in, single lane out to 2 lanes in, 2 lanes out. And the traffic impact analysis has shown to properly move cars through and help with the queuing side of things that a signaled traffic light on 20th Avenue would be the best way to do that for the site and from a cost standpoint as well. This does require, you can see, a shift to the west in the drive as we intend to line up the school driveway with the driveway of the landscape company across the street. So that's why you're seeing that offset more or less in the driveway. Also associated with the TIA was that a pedestrian beacon, flashing beacon at the sidewalk that goes to the YMCA is also a recommendation to help with student safety traveling to and from the YMCA and neighborhood safety in that area. Ultimately, I believe the school site has had issues with backing up onto 20th Avenue for quite a few years, and so the plan of having 2 lanes in, 2 lanes out helps with additional queuing distance and some additional drive considerations to help make that operation smoother. The next slide here does zoom in specifically on the 20th Avenue specifics. So I believe there's total of 5 traffic light components at 20th Avenue. 3 of them being overhead, so one that faces the school, one that faces east on 20th, and one that faces west on 20th, as well as pole-mounted traffic lights on the north side of this intersection. These traffic lights will have lights overhead, just for like street lights perspective. And also associated to this is the introduction of a right turn lane into the Carl Traeger site. As this is being proposed by the school district, we can only do so much with the property that is available, so we are able to accommodate about a 50-foot right-hand turn lane, which will help get traffic off of 20th Avenue. I think outside of that, I just do want to mention that the traffic lights are actuated at all times, so it is not intended to slow down 20th Avenue unless a car is presented at the street light itself. So if no one comes in to Carl Traeger in the month of July, and I know that's not exactly true, but that'd be a light month, that light will stay green the entire time. With that, I believe, let me just double check. Yeah, that's the summary of what we wanted to present this afternoon. This is obviously supported or supplemented, I should say, by the TIA. And John Bieberts from Toddy is here to answer any questions of the TIA, or I can answer any questions related to the presentation.
I have one, and it's maybe I'm just confused, but when I look at this, it looks like you're talking about the west driveway. There are two driveways for going into Traeger. One is closer to the 20th Street Y. The other is closer to Oakwood.
Correct. This
The
would
one
be
closer to Oakwood is, from my perspective, east, not west.
It's east.
This is the east driveway of
Okay,
which
so
we're
talking about
solving.
the east driveway.
Yes, the
Okay.
pedestrian flashing beacon
Will be at the west.
at the west driveway.
Great, thank you so much. That helps me.
I apologize if I had misspoke.
Questions from the
So I
committee?
have a comment. I used that parking lot for 9 years when my granddaughter went to school there she's in high school now, sophomore. So I'm really happy to see that you're making that, it's easier to get into Traeger by making that wider there, because people went over the curb for years because the cars are bigger. The thing that concerns me, the hardest part of going into Traeger is the cars not being able to come out of Traeger. So it's really good that you're putting the lights there for that purpose. But the two lanes coming out, one goes to the right and one to the left. I would say that 95% of the cars are going left. So there's be very little traffic in that right turn lane. So I hope it's enough to help. Because they're backed up from trying to get on the street. The lights are going to help that.
Yep. You're close. It's actually 80% turn left, 20%
80?
turn right, so
Okay.
very close. Yes, but with it being signalized and with it being actuated, that light will turn green when there's cars on that Traeger driveway. And it'll stay green till that queue flushes out, and then it'll go back to 20th Avenue. So when there's no cars on that school access driveway, the traffic signal would dwell green on 20th Avenue without interrupting 20th Avenue traffic.
And it's going to help the people going to the Y because they won't get behind the cars queued on 20th.
Exactly.
into
Correct. Yeah.
Twice a day. kind of thing.
And the TIA did study with the understanding that there could be future development further west on 20th. And so I believe with that potential growth accounted for, there could be potentially more movement to the right or to the west than there is today.
Yep, that'll be the Sawyer Creek residential property we looked at. It's being fully developed in the
And I
future.
love that you're putting in the cross morning light for the children because I did see kids in the morning coming from the Y or going to the Y after school. So
Definitely.
very good.
Any other questions from the committee to our presenters? Gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone wishing to speak to this item? Member, please give your name and address at the podium, please.
Hi, we're Mike and Lisa Hobley. We live at 2950 West 20th Avenue. So we are the home directly next to Carl Traeger. We have very serious concerns about a traffic light and the issues that it would cause, not just our home, but all of the families that live on 20th. Yes, should we just get online? Okay. We don't really know what kind of traffic issues are occurring, other than it is maybe a bit of a line to get out of the school. But we're worried about the safety issues that are going to be caused by that traffic light. Traffic accidents are more likely to happen when you have to stop and start somewhere, and especially when it's new. We think putting people at more risk of installing a traffic light due to accidents. There's already a speeding and racing issue on 20th Avenue, so having somewhere for them to take off from can lead to burnouts and other issues with racing. Also, largely adding the traffic signal is going to back up traffic on 20th Avenue. Without a light, we are already seeing an issue with parents blocking our driveway and our neighbor's driveway. And having them stopped there, even if they don't block our driveway, it's blocking our viewpoint east and west, so we can't safely leave our driveway if they're already doing that. So Oh, and then on top of that, increased litter, people stopping at the light, throwing garbage out their windows. Who's going to clean that up? It's going to go on our property. It's also going to go on the school property as well. When we first heard about this in April, because I happened to find out from someone at the school that this was getting talked about, I asked them about how families will still be turning right from Oakwood onto 20th, so even having the lights sync up isn't going to do much, because a lot of all the families in that area do go to Traeger. So they're going to be driving their kids to school turning right onto off of Oakwood onto 20th. So it's going to keep piling cars up in front of all of our houses and making it dangerous for us to leave our homes in the morning. Or even get back to our homes in the afternoon. That's been an issue as well. Do you have anything to add to that?
That is most of it. Additionally, that cut-in, that lead-in that allows people to get into the Carl Traeger driveway easier, I think that starts like immediately on the property line.
Yeah. So right where that picture was, that's where our property line is. So, you know, again, we have a lot of concerns. We don't feel it's safe. We don't think it's effective. We think it answers one problem, but creates several. You know, I personally think that there's a lot of other alternatives that could be considered. I asked them back in April or whenever that was about a roundabout. School goes, nope, too expensive. It seemed to be admitted that it was a safer option, but they didn't want to spend the money on it. Or even if you could do there's already a right turn only sign there that the parents just don't adhere to. They'll still turn left even though they're only supposed to turn right during certain hours of the day. I've been told that the school can't enforce it due to staffing issues, but if you create an extra turn lane right and block off the turn left during those drop off and pick up hours, that's a far more cost-effective way, I would imagine. And then also forcing parents to go left. I guess they've also, right. I guess they've also done studies to prove that if the parents were to just go right anyway, they can loop back. Is that Clairville?
Correct.
Yeah, and they can get to basically where they're going in almost the exact same amount of time.
Time's up.
That's our time.
All right, thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Any other comments on the Traeger issue? All right.
May we just comment on the roundabout conversation? Or is that not applicable?
Sure, go ahead.
I just would like to point out quickly that the traffic study in the past has studied both solutions, a traffic light and a roundabout, and it was taken into consideration this time around, even after the April meeting with residents. And John, you can further touch on this, but in a really with the queuing being the biggest concern on the site, traffic light is the best way to properly release cars back onto 20th Avenue in a safer, more, what would be the right phrase?
Yeah, with the school obviously letting out all at the same time, you have a huge surge of traffic leaving at the same time. The best way to handle that would be through a traffic signal versus a roundabout. Would still have a lot of queuing occurring because you have to wait for a gap in traffic to access 20th Avenue. So comparing the analysis side by side, the traffic signal is much more efficient. From a safety standpoint, if you compare no signal versus a signal, based on DOT standards, with a traffic signal installed, crashes are reduced by 14%, because what happens is it reduces right angle and T-bone crashes, which are by the way the most severe crashes. So from a safety standpoint, it's definitely a safer alternative than a stop sign or doing nothing, basically.
Okay.
Just that we add additional context to what the TIA stated. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, back to the committee. Comments from the committee? Do we have a motion to approve the recommendation? The recommendation is two pieces to it, I believe. That is effectively a traffic signal at the east driveway of Traeger and a electrical sign at the west for pedestrians, pedestrian signal of some, I'm sorry, I'm not using the right term.
Yeah,
Jim.
no, that's all right. So the traffic signals, yes, they're called rectangular rapidly flashing beacons. Yes, you can make a recommendation on that. That technically is not an ordinance, so it wouldn't go to council,
Okay.
other than they would approve the cost through our purchasing process. But yes, if you support it, I'm happy to take that recommendation as well, because that leaves puts a little more weight behind it.
Okay. So, do we have a motion on, let's do them separate then. Let's do a motion on the traffic signal on the east driveway. Do we have a motion on that?
Move to approve.
We have a motion from Mr. Nichols. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Evelyn. Further discussion here. I've driven that road many times on my way to 20th Street Y, and I go there often in the morning at the time that school is about to start. I see the issue of traffic right there and the challenges of getting in and out of that driveway. All right, any other comments? Call a roll.
Armstrong.
Aye.
Merritt.
Aye.
Hartman.
Aye.
Nichols.
Aye.
Lynch.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. We are at our second agenda item.
Oh, did you want to do one on the?
Oh, I'm sorry, I lost track of
No,
where
it's
I
all right.
was.
The pedestrian.
That's fine.
Yes, let's do the pedestrian signal on the west driveway, west end of Traeger School. Do I have a motion on that?
Move to approve.
Okay, Mr.
Second.
Nichols moves. Do we have a second on this?
Second.
Mr. Lynch seconds. Can we call a roll on that?
Who was the first?
Mr. Nichols?
Oh, it was. Armstrong.
Aye.
Merritt.
Aye.
Hartman.
Aye.
Nichols.
Aye.
Lynch.
Aye.
Agenda item 2. That's recommendation on UTV, ATV use in city streets.
All right. So this is, council, if you've been following, discussed this at one of the last meetings. And this is resulting from Winnebago County recently passed an ordinance to allow UTVs, ATVs on county roads. So the city council had discussed this, as I mentioned, at one of their meetings, I think maybe 2 of their meetings, but they're interested in potentially allowing these on city roads, so they referred this issue to the Transit Committee for recommendation. I did provide you some information ahead of time to hopefully guide our discussion. So what the council is looking for is a recommendation from the committee. So I provided you with this points of discussion. I think that probably will help our discussion. And then I also provided you with some background from the state, from Wisconsin DOT on altering vehicles and some of the things about what's currently allowed and not allowed via state statute. Some of that's kind of covered in these points of discussion. And then you also had got some supplemental crash data that Chairman Hartman had asked for. So I will turn it over to you guys, but I would recommend using this to kind of go through the points.
But thank you, that was very helpful, Mr. Collins. I do have, after reading the DOT stuff, is it the case that we can say anything, can we say anything about Highway 21, Highway 45, and Highway 76? If they're in the city limits, we can control that, or does the DOT get a shot at that as well?
Yes. So the way I understand it is it's based on the speed limit. But when I was reading this, they would the city can weigh in on it, but the state would have to approve it. I believe if the speed limit was over 35 miles an hour. If it's under that, then the city could have jurisdiction. But I have to refresh my memory, but that's what I seem to remember.
Okay.
And Chief Smith's here as well. He might.
So
I know
you are
he's
correct
researching
on some of your assumptions regarding state highways. However, there's an approval process that goes before the DNR, and if the city does choose to include those, then the city can make a request to the DNR to approve those roadways.
Okay. So we can propose it, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen.
It's my understanding from speaking with the DNR that they generally approve those.
Okay.
They don't really give a lot of pushback as it relates to those roadways.
Okay. Thank you.
And sorry, not to jump ahead, but keep me honest here, Chief Smith. But when we had a pre-meeting about this, there was a smaller group of us that met with experts on ATVs and UTVs before this came to council. And in that conversation, we had said that eliminating those sections of road might enhance safety, but also still allow people to get around on these machines. So in that pre-meeting, which isn't binding on anybody, I think the conversation was leaning against allowing it in those areas regardless. Is that how you remember that? I think we were going to allow it on where there was not highway access.
Right, we were concerned about the roundabouts, crossing 41 and so forth. Those are potential issues for us.
Well, and speed limit would be an issue on those as well.
Yeah, and if you look, I don't know if you have this handy, but on page, this is what I was referring to on the WSDOT's frequently asked questions. Item A says the town, village, city, or county may enact an ordinance under the statute to designate a highway not under its jurisdiction as an ATV route. In this case, ATV operation on the state highway or connecting highway is allowed only if WSDOT approves the route. WSDOT's approval consists of ATV route order that is issued for designated segment of state or connecting highway. So we do have connecting highways. There's a few of them in the city. So based on this, I would say WSDOT would review that. But then this point B is for ATV operation on state highways with speed limits of 35 or less. And that says that a city can enact an ordinance to allow that operation, regardless of who has jurisdiction, and that is not subject to WSDOT approval. But they're going to review the ATV ordinance to verify the state statute language authorized operation has been correctly instead of the term designated. We could work with the city attorney on that. But anyway, that's where I got that from.
Okay.
So anyway, I think that makes some sense. So it sounds to me like if it's a connecting highway and it's 35 miles an hour or above, that WSDOT would have to approve that. And if it was below, they wouldn't have to approve it, but they would just want to review the ordinance.
Okay.
But that again would just be on like the connecting highways, which would be like Highway 45, 21. So we're talking like that's South Fond du Lac Avenue coming into the city, State Highway 21, which comes in from Omro, Jackson Street, which is 44. So anyway, there's a few of those.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that we knew we're going to be talking about the same thing. So, all right. So with that, anyone wish to comment on this agenda item? If so, please go to the podium, state your name and address, please.
I'm Dave Schmidt. I live in the city of Oshkosh at 1960 Walnut Street. I'm president of Fox River Wheelers. I'm also president and chairman of the UTV-ATV Alliance of Winnebago County. I'm a trail ambassador and ATV safety instructor. I actually initiated the conversation with City Council and with Council Member Chris Larson, and your comments are correct. We presented a proposal that would eliminate access at highways 41, 44, 9th Ave, Highway 21, Highway 45, and Highway 76, because we don't want to see anybody have access to four-lane highways, as interstate highway riding is not permitted in the state of Wisconsin. So the routes to bring traffic east and west would be Highway K 20th Avenue and Highway E Witzel Avenue, because they do not have freeway access. The main north-south routes would be Vinland to Snell Road, and then around that roundabout, and then up Butamore Drive. So we're pleased that you're taking this up. I'm here to answer any questions for you that you may have. We've suggested that the ordinance takes some of the points that we found with other communities, like no cruising in residential neighborhoods. You have to go from point A to point B. You must follow the rules of the road as it's stated under Wisconsin ATV laws and regulations. You have to wear a helmet if you're under 18. Passengers in a UTV must wear seat belts. No open intoxicants are allowed. And there's many of these laws are being challenged right now and being updated. One of the big concerns that has been expressed by the Sheriff's Department and actually the Police Department here is why isn't this drunk driving reciprocated against your driver's license? That's because this is regulated by the DNR. But I'm here to tell this committee that every group that is concerned about riding and every club across this state, we are all in the same boat and we would like to see this take place. And we're lobbying for this to take place.
For what?
Drunk driving has no place in these machines.
Right. All right, so you're
We are 100%
you're
supportive of that,
moving that to
absolutely. Yeah,
to a
we would like to see that
traffic
take
offense.
place. It may take a while for that to happen, but as this grows, there are over 500,000 registered machines in the state of Wisconsin, and we have over 65,000 miles of routes. That doesn't include trails, that's actual road routes. We're number one in the country. And that's why we felt Oshkosh should be able to take advantage of this for economic reasons, for alternate transportation reasons, and for, recreational purposes.
I've got a question for you. But Mr. Collins was kind enough to give us the city of Berlin's rules, I guess. And I can understand Berlin allowing ATV, UTV, given the size of the community. Are you aware of any community of our size that allows ATV, UTV?
Oshkosh would become the first
Okay, all right.
of its urban
And
size.
I don't mind being first on some things. I'm not sure this is it, but
Right. Oshkosh would be first, but if you look at Wisconsin Dells, and there was a long time that it took them, but Wisconsin Dells operates year-round. And with the amount of traffic that is there, they operate on all the roads down there year-round. In the summertime, it's just unbelievable traffic. And there's more and more communities that are looking at this all the time. So I appreciate your time, and I'm here to answer any questions you have.
we may ask you back, given you have some experience in this area. Other comments? Sir?
Good afternoon. My name is Tom Van Zeeland. I am owner of Team Winnebagoland, TWL Power Sports and Marine in Oshkosh, 5827 Green Valley Road. I just want to show up here and to express my support for the moving forward of the ATV, UTV use on the Oshkosh roads. As a business owner, we have seen a lot of growth from that, and it's been safe growth. I'm here to tell you that the image that is portrayed sometimes of ATVers is not the true image. It's my average customer is 45 to 65 years old who are actually using these machines. What we're seeing is a major shift from solo motorcyclist into family-oriented UTVs that you can do together with your wife and yourself or your family together. We see that with our marine industry. We're seeing the slowdown of big motorcycles. We're seeing a lot of shift from the Harley rider group together, and now they're the UTV rider group together. They're the same people. They just can't ride a big motorcycle anymore, and they're doing the same things that they love doing together, which is getting breakfast together and touring together. And these people are extremely safe and cautious, sometimes a little too safe and cautious, where they're not doing they're a little too cautious that way. But as a business owner and as an enthusiast, I would like to just express my support on that. What we see is a big economic boom, myself as a business owner, as any supporting restaurants, et cetera, that way. And the fun thing, the cool thing that this would open up to is the access to Lake Winnebago in the winter, which once you can get on Lake Winnebago for ice fishing, for sturgeon spearing, for plowed road access, you can go anywhere, and I'd like to see Oshkosh, my backyard, be a hub of that community. So I think this would be a good move for Oshkosh. I think it'd be awesome to see our city be one of the first ones to push it forward of this size and show how it works. So I'm confident it would work. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your comments. Other comments on this? All right, come back to the committee. Just to be transparent, our family owns an ATV at our cottage, but it's a very rural area. It's not, there's no city of any size in 20 miles, so. But just to be transparent here. Committee members.
Is there an age limit for, I heard him talk about helmets, that's good, but what's the age limit for someone to be able to drive?
Is it 12?
To be able to ride on road routes, they would have to have an operator's license and be 16.
16, okay.
Yeah, that's on the back page here. So, yeah, so it says state law allows individuals as young as 12 to ride, provided they're accompanied by a parent or guardian over 18. If not accompanied, the individual must be 16 to ride on a roadway. Currently, state law does not require a driver's license. That was one of the things to consider. Winnebago County says 16 driver's license required. Berlin says 16 driver's license required.
So said another way, we as a city could require in our ordinance that you have to have a driver's license, a valid driver's license in order to drive these.
Absolutely.
And then they also have to be, like licensed, right?
Yep.
They have ATV licenses. So if somebody has an ATV that they have not, don't have the title for or whatever, they could get stopped and possibly.
Well, that's two things, but for insurance, state law does not require ATVs to have insurance like it does automobiles. Winnebago County put in theirs that they needed to have $10,000 coverage for property damage, 25 for injury or death, and 50,000 of more than one person. So that's basically like, if you know anything about insurance limits, that's kind of the minimal insurance limits.
Right.
So that's that piece. Registration. I don't know if we covered that on here or not. I believe they're registered through the DNR.
Yes, every 2 years.
So, on the insurance issue, so if someone, if we use the minimum of Winnebago County, I mean, 25,000 for personal injury, is that what it was?
Injury or death, yeah.
And that just tracked what the minimum requirements are for a vehicle. Is that right? So that would be treating, so Winnebago County treats ATVs and UTVs the same way that the state treats cars.
All right.
So maybe taking a step back, and before we get into kind of the details, when we had this conversation at council at a very high level, a lot of the conversation was around potential tourism to the area. I know people will get together and they'll ride these things in groups. Like we heard, people will do this instead of motorcycling, which of course motorcycles are allowed in the city of Oshkosh. What really struck me as an opportunity for the city is less about tourism, even though that's an advantage always, but it's recreation. So I think where we sit, especially in the state, we have such an opportunity in Oshkosh to take advantage of recreation, not just the obvious, which are the river and the lakes that we sit between and that flow through the city, but also with the fact that we have access to trails like these and other opportunities. So I don't own an ATV, I don't own a UTV, but I do see, if you go ice fishing, you see a lot of trailers parked right by the lake. If I had the opportunity or someone else had the opportunity to leave your backyard and go to the lake, ice fishing, that's going to limit the number of trailers that are there. I don't have crash data on vehicles with trailers. I know myself should never be trusted to back up a trailer. So I imagine that it can't be safer. So when I was having the conversation at council, what struck me was the opportunity for recreation, not just for people that live in Oshkosh today, but people that might want to live in Oshkosh in the future, or people that live in Oshkosh today that don't want to have to trailer their vehicle to get to the lake, or trailer their UTV to get to the lake, or trailer their UTV to get back up to the county.
When I've shared this with folks randomly, not randomly, people I know. So it's not too random and it's not a valid sample. So let's just be clear about that. But generally, people were not that excited about this as an option. The issues that I heard were people going up and down streets, but I know you mentioned that that's one of the things we're going to restrict, being fairly noisy, concern about safety in terms of speed. Those are the things I heard. I don't know if our chief of police has any perspective on this or not.
So you are correct. There's been a lot of discussion about UTV, ATV, both in smaller meetings as well as by council. And there's been comparisons to UTVs to such things as motorcycles and slingshots, and there's a valid comparison that one isn't any more dangerous to the other. I think the most important piece associated with this is to make sure we have a good ordinance that it covers what we needed to have it covered, but also that police officers can actually enforce it. So from a public safety perspective, when I compare a UTV, ATV to a motorcycle, as well as the information that was provided by the UTV Association and their cooperation with wanting to have a good, solid ordinance, our only concern, of course, which is also their concern, is the OWI enforcement. It's not that it's not enforceable, it's a ticket. So the subsequent first violation, second violation, as well as because you're not required to have a driver's license if you're 18 or over, you can still operate with OWIs on your record. That is clearly a concern of ours, but that's something we would just work through.
Okay.
To that point, just so I understand the DWI, the OWI, sorry, perspective. If someone today, if I drove a UTV and I was under the influence and I was in the city of Oshkosh, which we know UTVs aren't allowed, and I was under the influence, you still wouldn't be able to give me an OWI. Is that right?
Not in the sense of the state statute related to traffic enforcement of OWI. We could write you a ticket for operating a UTV under the influence under the DNR code.
Sure.
Which it's a different standard.
Sure. But I guess maybe my point is that the OWI impact isn't affected, whether it's allowed in Oshkosh or not. I'm just going to get 2 tickets for operating an unauthorized vehicle and operating a vehicle.
Yes.
Okay.
I would like to understand or quantify the economic impact. It's easy to say this would help or impact the economy, but how? You talk about the ice, that's 2 months. Do we want UTVs driving all through our city all the time because of that? To help a guy not have to trailer it? And the access to those areas to get on the ice in general are outside of the city. There's a couple in the city, obviously, down by the park and stuff, but these are meant for rural areas, and I'm having a hard time seeing the benefit of these riding around in the city of Oshkosh. I'm not hearing a huge benefit that, yes, this is, plus the safety belt issue. What I'm reading here is where if they're equipped with them, only the passenger needs to wear a seatbelt. I mean, it sounds like a huge safety issue. We've been talking about e-bikes being a safety issue, and then we're going to add UTVs to this. I'm not hearing a huge reason to make this happen. It sounds like everyone's jumping on the bandwagon about it, but why? What's the benefit?
Well, and here, so it was mentioned about there would be a group of people going together somewhere. As a car driver, I'm not sure if I want to be on the road with, say, 8 UTVs, around me, or in front of me, or behind me. I try to picture the congestion of that and what that would be like for the people in the cars, because sometimes our roundabouts can get pretty busy already, different times of the day. So.
And we talk about trails. What trails? I assume these can't go on the wheel wash trail.
No, they would not be permitted on the wheel wash trail.
So what trails in Oshkosh, in the city of Oshkosh, what trails would they benefit from?
So So when we were having the conversation with Dave, and he might have something to say.
And
about
I'll
this.
let him come up and
Yeah.
make a comment.
But access to the county trails without having to trailer your UTV from Oshkosh was a large part of the conversation. So again, it was about recreation. And so in terms of economic impact, I'll let people that aren't me talk about that. And Dave, I think, has some numbers there. But it's really about, to me, it was about making Oshkosh a place of desirable recreation for people that live here today or people that might want to live here in the future. I think all the concerns are completely legitimate, and I think that's why, to the chief's point, if we were to allow this, and I guess I'm trying to play the devil's advocate because I know where the conversation is, but to the extent that we would enact this, making sure that the ordinance is written appropriately so that law enforcement can enforce restrictions here and that people are aware that you do have insurance requirements in Oshkosh even if you don't somewhere else, or you do have to wear a seatbelt even if you don't somewhere else. I think that's going to be the trick to doing it the right way.
My other question is, why do they have to have a license if they're under 18 and then after 18 they don't have to have a driver's license?
I think the recommendation from the Transportation Committee was that we would require everyone to have a driver's license.
Sir, you had a comment?
Yeah.
And I'm allowing you to do this because of your position as leading the organization.
Question to your economic impact. This sport contributes about $5 billion a year to Wisconsin's economy. It supports directly 39,000 manufacturing and dealership jobs that are directed in the industry. That study was done in 2003 by the State ATV Association. That's expected to grow to $7.29 billion in the next 3 years. So it's a growing, fast-paced industry, and it benefits small business more so than chain business. So businesses like Beckett's, Van Zeeland's, other restaurants, gas stations, small hotel chains, and small hotel operations. One of the things that people like to do with these is called overlanding, where people get on these machines and they'll start out in one community and they'll go community to community on a vacation. Like my wife and myself, we don't have any kids. You know, we might take this machine and you know, go from town to town and spend time vacationing. One of the things for me that is really kind of hard, and you ask about why I approached this. We live by North High School, and we're just a couple blocks away from the town of Oshkosh, and yet I need to be out patrolling as a trail ambassador and doing the things that I need to do. Yet in order for me to do that, I have to load my machine on my trailer, and I have to go to Omro or Winneconne or Nakaimai or Vinland in order to do what I volunteered my time to do. I can't just pull out of my driveway and go a block and a half because we don't have an ordinance in place. Yet I know for a fact that there are people in this city that ride these machines, and actually I talked to 2 people this weekend that admitted they're riding these machines all over the south end of the city whenever they want, not on the main roads, but around the back roads and the side streets, wherever they want to.
Okay.
If we don't have an ordinance in place for law enforcement to make sure it works,
Okay.
we don't have any proper enforcement.
Thank you. All right.
Has anyone mentioned anything about pedestrians? And the potential problem for them? I don't know what it might be, but ATV, UTVs aren't as noticeable as a car. And is there any record, or maybe it's perfectly fine, so I'm just asking it.
The data that I acquired from the DNR as it relates to UTV accidents, the data is going to mature as more and more UTVs are on the road. It just happens. But the majority of the data, in speaking with the DNR representatives, involved UTVs and not any pedestrians generally being harmed by these.
But they're not on city streets right now.
They're not on city streets in the size of the city of Oshkosh.
And are there any other cities our size that are looking at this as a potential
There are, yes, there are. They're also waiting to see what we do.
Well, this is purely anecdotal, and,
Yes.
you know, sample size is basically a Dixie cup in the ocean, but I lead frequent bikepacking trips through the shop, and we go to, you know, middle of nowhere, and we have a lot of interaction with ATV, UTV traffic, because we are on these trails and we use them too. And my anecdotal experience is that there's absolutely no problem at all. Even on trails where you are less visible as a cyclist or pedestrian adjacent, they still are aware. They are minding, you know, their own proper trail etiquette. There's a pretty well codified, you know, system of communication to let people know like how many back you've got behind you. And, I mean, it's a pretty well established culture, and they do a pretty darn good job with interacting with us cyclists who are on their trail. Never had an issue with it at all.
But that's kind of the point. You're on a trail. You're not on a city street.
Yeah, but
And that communication would not be happening with the general public driving cars on a city street.
Sure, yeah, and I mean, I guess I don't see really an issue with further education of people who are on city streets. But then also, you're way more visible when you're on a street. When you're on a trail, you're coming around a corner and suddenly, oh, hey, there's someone right there.
Sure.
And if they're handling that there, I think they can handle pedestrians on a city street.
So, do we, you know,
Here's some info about Cell.
sorry. My watch talks to me more than most people. Does it, for me personally, I'm not comfortable passing anything tonight on a specific ordinance. I don't know enough. I don't have enough sense of what the implications are if I supported something. So personally, I'm not in that position at this point. Would it make any sense to, although I think I know what the outcome's going to be, what a poll would do, you know, in the community? I know we've polled on a number of issues. We polled on some of the busing, on the bus schedule issues. We polled on a couple other things. Would it make any sense to poll citizens on this to say, hey, what are your thoughts on this issue?
I think that makes sense. I think more data is always better than less data, and that certainly would be a data point. I'm sure that Dave has an email list that he would love to send that poll to as well, in addition to the people that would normally see it on social media. So I think that as long as we are requesting the data from the right people, which would be everybody, right? Making sure we're not just sending it to our Facebook account and moving on.
Sure.
I think that'll be a data point that we should take into account.
Yeah, we could certainly do something like that. You know, our Oshkosh media folks, we currently work with a company called Polco, so we could do it through that, or I'm sure there's other means as well. So that, yes, that is something that could be done.
Well, I guess from my perspective, I'd like to see something like that before we do anything. And once that's done, my assumption is that there'll be some interest in doing some ordinance. But if that happens, I'm not sure. We have 2 council members here. I mean, I think the only thing we could do is, if depending on the outcome of the, well, let's wait until we get the outcome of the poll. Let's do that.
And I'll just mention too, when this came before council, the direction was, I think there were 6 of us at this meeting, but there may have been 7. But all but 1 gave the directive to refer it to this committee to have an opinion. So that was the conversation at council. Everyone, all but 1, were supportive of learning more. And so I think the poll makes sense. I think the conversation makes sense. And I don't think we should rush it.
Okay.
I totally agree. I think we need more public input on this.
Okay.
I think for the poll, we just need to make sure that it's worded in ways that it very clearly and easy, it makes it very easy to receive the information about what an ordinance might include, like licensing, you know, you mentioned about like not riding around on neighborhood streets, right, that kind of thing. As long as it's very clear about that, then people can make a little bit more informed decision as to how they answer the poll.
I think that's very appropriate, and maybe we ask a couple of members of the committee to work with Mr. Collins in crafting what that would look like. To make sure that we've got, and Mr. Lynch, maybe you would be willing to participate in some of that, because you obviously have some experience with this issue. So.
Yeah, we could certainly work on that.
Okay.
Generally, our media department has the most experience with that, but I definitely can work with them, and we can get
This
some
is-
input and figure something out.
Yeah, well,
To help you with the structuring of an ordinance, there are two ordinances that are in our area that are pretty comprehensive, that we're comfortable working off of. One would be the Winnebago County ordinance, as well as Berlin's ordinance, that are very comprehensive, and it may give you a good idea to, these are important things for us to include in ours. But to Jim's point with Polko, it's a very defined survey, and putting particular ordinance pieces in there may be difficult to do. Maybe more general questions about, with proper ordinance defining public safety and usage of the UTVs, would you be acceptable to that?
okay,
Yeah, so
that's helpful.
So basically, what I was thinking is, so first of all is question number one, which I did give them the Berlin and Winnebago County
And that
information.
was very helpful, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. But so where can they, should they be allowed in the city at all? Should they be allowed in the city with some guardrails on it, like we talked about, or should they not be? So I think that's question number one, right? And then from there, if there's support that they should be allowed, then what does that look like? And that's where we get into these details, looking at Berlin and Winnebago County. So if you recommend let's allow these, then how are they regulated? And that's, I do think we heard some good things from Dave here about some of the things that some of the major concerns with like the highway access and limiting. Those are some good points to be considered. Like maybe you should restrict it to certain like east-west routes, like Witzel and 20th, where they don't have highway access. But I think somebody would have to be crazy to take one of these on the highway. But anyway, so those are some good things to consider as well. So I guess I will let Councilmember Nichols, and he already did, speak for what council's looking for. If and he can carry the water that way with council, like what the committee recommends.
Okay.
So, but I'm happy to do whatever you guys would like us to.
Okay. Well, Mr. Lynch had some thoughts on structure of it, and if Mr. Larson is a council member and Mr. Nichols is a council member want to weigh in on framing the questions, I think that's fine. All right. Chief, thank you so much. You've been very helpful today.
Thank you.
With that, I think we'll end the conversation on this item. Our next item is adding 24-hour permit and associated rate for city-owned parking lots. Mr. Collins.
Yeah, so this
And
is,
folks, yes, if you want to leave, you don't have to wait and listen to this if you don't want to.
Councilmember Larson might want to, because this is something that him and I have talked about.
What are you talking before?
But we've had some requests for 24-hour parking in the city parking lots. Now, currently, that is the only way to do that. Currently, there's three ways. There's four technically. You can get a monthly permit, you could get an annually permit, you could lease a parking stall, or you could call the police department to get temporary permission for up to 3 nights. So there are some occasions that have arisen over the summer where some of downtown tenants, maybe their parents are visiting, and or I know there's a couple Airbnb situations as well. They might have some guests. And right now you can't park on the street overnight, but you could if you live in certain areas, but downtown that's a little more limited. So there's occasions where there's not immediate on-street parking, but we do have city parking lots, and looking for a way that those people could park there overnight for a couple nights, something like that. So now that we do have the Passport parking software, I did check with them, and we could put a 24-hour product in there. I don't think there's too much downside to it because we already allow it for monthly and annual with a permit, and it does generate some revenue, and it also generates some responsibility as well because you know who's allowed to park there, and you have their information, obviously, so if there's any issues, you know who to get a hold of. So this would just be another option to our menu of parking options. So that's first. The request is to add a 24-hour parking permit. We currently have a daily permit, which is only valid till 6 p.m. But then we don't do parking enforcement after 6 p.m. until 2 a.m. But then there's the 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. So this would solve this issue, give people a way to park legally overnight. And we talked a little bit. We were talking. You can park daily for $3, so we were thinking $6 for a 24-hour permit would be reasonable. So I don't know how popular it will or won't be, but it would be an option for those particular circumstances.
Comments from the committee?
Seems reasonable.
I thought, hey, that give more flexibility for folks and it generates a little bit of revenue. I mean, I think that's a great idea.
How will that affect snow removal?
Well, I mean, it is more challenging, obviously, but they have to deal with it now with.
Oh, okay.
So basically, they plow around, and then the cars are going to have to deal with it later. So.
I really like that we would leverage the Passport app for this. I think the more we can use that, the better.
Yes.
I think that's something that people that are, and like I mentioned earlier with the other issue, recreation and tourism are something that I think we need to focus more on as a city, and so any opportunity we have there, and that's an app that people are familiar with. So if I were coming to Oshkosh for the very first time, I'm going to think, where's the sign that lets me download the app so that I can park here legally? So it's just one more opportunity to use a tool that we have in our tool belt.
All right. Any other comments from the committee?
Jim, is this an ordinance change?
This would be adding another, yes. We would have to update the ordinance to include the 24-hour parking option.
So I move to add a 24-hour parking permit as we discussed today.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Mr. Lynch seconds. Any further comments from the committee? Call the roll, please.
Armstrong.
Aye.
Merritt.
Aye.
Hartman.
Aye.
Nichols.
Aye.
Lynch.
Aye.
All right. Staff statements. I see we're meeting on Monday. I think we knew that.
Yeah, so I have a couple things. So that Monday meeting, October 13th, at the last council meeting, they referred e-bikes to the committee, so that's going to be another entertaining topic. So I'm going to give you this.
I hope Mr. Lynch will be here for that conversation.
I'll do my darndest. This is something you can take a look at ahead of that meeting. It just kind of shows you different vehicle types and what's currently allowed and not allowed and where.
The article in the Herald was helpful for me anyway, understanding.
It certainly generated emails.
Sorry. So our media folks and attorney's office worked together we put this together to just give you some background information, and ATVs are on there as well with just question marks to be considered. But this is what's currently allowed. So you have something to start to work from. One email that I know a couple of council members had forwarded that I've got some clarification on, but I think we're going to have to be clear on it, is like medical mobility devices. Those currently are allowed on sidewalks. They're not currently regulated. We have yet to find anywhere in state statute that it's pretty silent on those. So I know a couple of people read the Herald article and were upset about that, but that's not what they mean. It's confusing. The state statute calls, I think it's called electric assisted mobility devices, EAMDs or something like that, which actually means a Segway, which I would never know that unless they specifically said that.
Don't see a lot of those.
Yeah, so I was like, well, when you read the words, you're like, oh, that must be like a medical scooter, but then when you look at the definition, it's actually a Segway. So anyway, just for anybody that's listening, it's not the medical scooters. That's not what it's currently. They're not regulated. It's silent, so those would be allowed on sidewalks. I don't see any reason why we wouldn't allow that. So that'll be our hot topic for next month. And then again, the meeting's Monday. The monthly fare caps we will look to bring for transit. We'll look to bring those back one of the next 2 meetings. We're looking at, ours is a little low. Our revenue, since we put in our electric fare system, is a little bit lower, and we think that our fare caps are a little bit low, so that's something we want to look at. That's affected our revenue a little bit. Saturday transit service. So I've had discussions with the city manager regarding that, and we did do some financial analysis, and the impact to the city would be very minimal. We're talking maybe, as most of you know, we're mostly funded by federal and state grants. That's like 55%. We get some county funding, that's 10 to 15%. Fares are a little down right now, 15%. And then local share depends on the year, but 14 to 20%. So once we did all the analysis, if we ended at 2 p.m. or 2:15 on Saturday, after all the grants and fares and everything's washed out, it was like maybe $20,000. So that's not something we're going to pursue at this time.
Okay.
So anyway, we said we'll hold that in reserve for future consideration if there's other reasons that we need to do that in the future. So I'm not going to bring that back per direction unless something changes.
Well, thanks for the update on that. I know you have staffing issues with that Saturday.
Yes. So that's
schedule.
something, currently, knock on wood, our staffing's okay, but that's always a struggle with transit operators. It's not, some people, the drivers that work for us, some have been there a really long time, and some of them really like it, and then some of them struggle with, the customer interactions and some of the things that they have to deal with. And the hours are, some actually don't mind them, but others do. I mean, there's some long days, and, obviously working on Saturday is nobody's favorite thing.
Sure.
However, I do have a senior driver that they're union and they pick their run picks, and he likes being off on Monday, so that works for him. So I can't say that that's, different strokes for different folks, I guess. But anyway, that is a concern.
Okay. Well, thanks for bringing us up to date on that.
Yeah, and that's all I had for today.
All right. Anything else in committee? Future agenda? All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
So you,
Yep.
You did first. I thought I heard that.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna do the roll. Armstrong,
Aye.
Merritt,
Aye.
Hartman,
Aye.
Nichols,
Aye.
Lynch,
Aye.
Martin.
All right, thank you.